Welcome to This Just In, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Thank you for tuning in, and welcome to This Just In. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. In these segments, I'll bring you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. As always, we're broadcasting from the This Just In studios on the Business Radio X network, as well as the Healthcare Now radio network. For this episode, my 236th episode, we have a very special show dedicated to the HIMSS annual conference in Orlando. I also have a very special on-air guest with me today, my show producer, Roberta Mullin. Welcome to the show, Roberta.
Hi, Justin. It's great to be back.
Always. Whenever we do these shows, and this one came together very quickly. We didn't have it really too pre-planned, but they always are so exciting for me. I have so much fun, and I even forget it. I just kind of always move on, and then I realize every single time we do this show how much energy and excitement around it there is. And then obviously being on air with you is always extremely exciting. So thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Glad to do it.
I love it.
So we're going to talk about HIMSS 2022. And that is in Orlando this year, coming right off the heels of 2021 this summer, because of course they had to cancel 2020. The exhibit hall will be open on the 15th through the 17th, but the conference, the entire conference is the 14th to 18th.
Yep.
And you can get information on HIMSS.org, of course, for all like the details that we're talking about. But the one thing that they're doing differently this year, and I think they're trying to perfect it, is the on-site and the digital formats. And a lot of people, that they're calling it the hybrid, or, things are calling the hybrid. But a lot of these big conferences are doing the hybrid, where they're just opening up and streaming what's going on site. And HIMSS is doing a good job of saying, no, we're not doing this. The digital format is a completely different conference, and we have different speakers, we have different, sessions and everything else, and you're not part of the on-site. So you choose one or the other. So that's kind of interesting, I think. Yeah,
and I think, if I'm not mistaken, the numbers I read were there were almost 11,000 that attended in person last year. Obviously, it was a pandemic year, 2021. But almost 16,000 participated digitally and electronically. So, I think that's it. But that obviously was an anomaly. I'm not sure how this year will play out. I'm expecting 15 to 20,000, and it could be higher than that. I'm ballparking. I have no inside intel this year.
I don't either. They're keeping those numbers pretty close to the vest this year.
Well, I don't think they know yet either. I think people are still registering. They're still taking the temperature on, how my organization is doing. How am I doing? Am I ready to be out there? But I will say, we talked about a little bit about this off air, the excitement and the energy from this industry to attend not only HIMSS 22, but a few of the larger conferences out there and conferences in general. There's just so much pent up energy and in readiness to collaborate, participate, lead, be a part of the conversation. There's just so much been on the sidelines lately, no matter how you want to kind of frame it. When you look back over the last couple of years and the velocity that we used to do all this, the velocity that we used to lead, collaborate, innovate, co-opetition, that was tremendous for the previous. I think this is going to be my 21st or 22nd HIMSS. Ironically, it's the 22nd year. I think it's my I started going in 96. And I missed a couple of years, but not too many. So I think I'm on my 22nd one. So anyhow, very excited and ready for sure.
Yeah, a couple interesting things. I think I feel the people that aren't going or can't go are kind of upset about it. That's what they're talking about. So that's the other side of the energy's there, and the people are kind of upset. The last couple of years, there's been a lot of can't go, don't really want to go, kind of thing. But I think we're getting over that. Speaking of your first HIMSS, do you remember anything specific about it? Where was it?
That is a great question. And I'm trying to think back. My very first HIMSS may have been in Orlando. It was 1996,
Okay.
not to give away my age.
Mhm.
But I want to say it was either San Diego. I know Dallas was one of the early years.
Uh-huh.
Dallas, and then Atlanta was one of the earlier ones. I think that was
Uh-huh.
'01 maybe. And then, but yeah, it very well may have been Orlando, to be honest, my very first one. And I was with HBO and company McKesson at the time, and
Okay, so
it was
you were working for a company. You
yeah,
were in a booth.
yes, I was in a booth, but also I was doing business development, corporate development. So I had a lot of
Corporate.
meetings outside of the booth, networking, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, so
Uh-huh. Okay, so that's what you remember. You were with McKesson. You were
yeah,
there. That's interesting.
yeah.
My first HIMSS, because I've gotten into this a little later than you have, but was 2010, and it was the last time they were in Atlanta.
Oh wow, that was the ice
Right.
storm.
Right. And so so the interesting thing is I lived in Houston at the time. Carol and I had just started High Tech Answers, and
Wow.
my husband got transferred here to Atlanta. And so I came to the Atlanta HIMSS
Oh my
for
God.
twofold. I came because I needed to look at houses to buy to move here, and it seemed like a pretty good deal.
You're right.
Because we were just getting into it, and that was the first time I was in there. And I thought that I was really amazed. I had never been to a conference that large before.
Right.
I was kind of shell shocked. And interestingly enough, that was the last time they were in Atlanta because the venue didn't fit anymore.
Right.
Right
Yeah,
there.
we actually outran many cities, to be honest.
Mhm.
Right now, at least when we get to the scale of, 35, 45, 55,
That's right.
50,000 before the
Mhm.
pandemic,
Right.
I think it's just Las Vegas and Orlando now. So
That's correct. That's correct. And they're thinking about going back to, now that they have some other numbers, they're thinking about going back to Chicago again. Of course, that's their home.
yeah, I remember when that went down, that was a tough one because we had some we had some serious union issues when we were there
Mm-hmm. Yep,
last time.
yep.
That's why I
And
still believe
and
it.
those
Never
haven't
again.
changed.
Yeah.
Right. Right, right. Well, some other interesting history on HIMSS and us in particular is that 2012 was in Las Vegas. One of the first
Hmm.
times they went back to Las Vegas.
Yes.
HIMSS has a lot of sessions, and a lot of people get their they re-up their certifications there and everything else, so they need a lot of room. And Las Vegas wasn't a good venue for that before the Sands.
Right.
So that's it's a big city and it was a big convention city, but not for what HIMSS is really all about. So, but 2012 they went back because the Sands opened and they had the venue again, and that's the year that we actually debuted and opened up Healthcare Now Radio on air
Oh, wow.
during
Okay.
2012.
Okay.
So that was kind of fun. And then the next in 2015 was we were in Chicago, 2015. That was your first year live at HIMSS.
It was. You're good. Yes,
Yeah.
that was. Yeah, that was my very first year. I got asked at the last second to, hey, will you come broadcast live from the the venture forum that they had? And
Mhm.
I had never done it was a 2-hour broadcast. I had never done a show longer than a half an hour in my life, and I
Right.
went in for 2 hours straight,
Right.
and
Right.
it worked out so perfect. It was
Right.
awesome. God was good.
And
Great.
we turned on the airwaves. It was all on it was all live on there, and Business Radio X did it also. So
Yes, yeah. No,
Mhm.
you were amazing, and you were the brainchild of this radio show. I remember when I was leaving, Greenway at the time in
Mhm.
2013. You had said, "Hey,
Mhm.
Justin, you got this great circle of peers and colleagues
Mhm.
and friends and experts, and why don't you do a radio show?" And it took me about a year to come around from the first time you mentioned it in 2012, just because I had so much on my plate,
Right.
navigating helping to navigate a
Mhm.
publicly traded company, but. Yeah, when it was, to be honest, we started this in 2014, I think, officially, and it's been so much fun, and I owe you so much. It's been such a great experience, Roberta. So thank you.
Well, and I think that the HIMSS and the radio have had a lot of synergy over the years too. Like I said,
Yes.
this will be the first year that some one of us doesn't broadcast there.
Yeah, I've actually broadcast
Mhm.
live from every HIMSS,
Yep.
since 2015.
Right.
2020, 2020 didn't happen, but we still had a phenomenal, guest lineup. So we took it offline and we ended up, or to my station, to a studio, and had everybody call in, including Hal Wolf, but John
Mhm.
Halamka and Rush
Mhm.
Shushresha and Mickey
Right.
Pathy and actually even before Mickey, I mean just the whole crew from the ONC. Don Rucker. And I mean, it's just I had a great lineup that I did not want to give up. And so we ended up having a phenomenal show.
Yep. We went into the studios at Business X.
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah. So we've had a lot of synergy with HIMSS. And last year in Las Vegas, when they did this summer, they actually gave us a booth to broadcast.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So, this will be the first year in a long time since 2015. Well, we opened it in 2012. You started live in 2015, and this will be the first year in a long time that we haven't actually done any broadcasting there. So,
but that's okay. Yeah. Well, Saba, that's okay. I don't think either of us. This year, that was not top of our list. Let's just say that. So it's okay. We're going to go there. We will both be there, in person. But I'm actually happy to take, at least this year off from broadcasting live. So we're good.
Yeah. So HIMSS lets 3 people in as press credentials for organizations. And you and me and Jim Tate will be going for the radio and Answers Media Network. So it'll be kind of interesting just as press. And we're supposed to be telling the world what's going on. So we'll do that.
Oh, we will. I've got some phenomenal meetings. We got some. I will be doing some reporting on site, probably not live, but I will be putting out some cool some updates and all that. To be honest, this is my first year. I'm just excited to be kind of solo in some ways. I'm a current company. I rolled on just to the board. I've been on the board for 3 years. I operated with hands-on for the past 3 years. But at the beginning of March, I rolled back only onto the board of directors. And so I've got a lot more free time on my hands. I'm going to enjoy HIMSS at a whole other perspective. I'm going to meet up with a lot of, friends and former colleagues and even former radio show guests and future radio show guests I'm going to meet, I'm sure. Because I've got some, just fun meetings. And I'm looking for maybe my next investment, what I want to do next. I'm excited to have a clear plate and slate for a while. I need a little bit of a breather, but I'm sure I'll get back at it here in a bit. So I'm excited.
So let's talk about the HIMSS, the speakers. I always like to look at speakers first on these big conferences. You kind of get a feel for like what they're about and what they want the tone to be and that type of thing. And I thought that speakers told a lot to me this time. And some of the keynotes that they have, of course, they have the big headliners. The big headliners this year are going to be Michael Phelps, the Olympian, who does have a connection, unlike some of the others in the past years, does have a connection. He's been big in mental health for the last, year, and is with an app, with a innovative health application that he's been fostering and promoting. So he has a lot of connection. He's the big headliner on Friday. John Mckay, who is the founder of Whole Foods Market. That's an interesting get, I guess is what you call it. We have social determinants of health, and one of the things is food related, right? And so I'm assuming that he's going to talk a little bit about that.
Yep.
Ben Sherwood is the co-chair of Disney Media and ABC, president of ABC Television. Media has certainly been in the news. Media, that's kind of an oxymoron, but that's interesting.
Well, just on him though, on Ben. So I when I saw his name come across, because we got all this, this pre-show information, I got really excited because I've had the fortunate opportunity to work with Dennis Snow, who started the Disney Institute and really just a consultant on how to be the best, run the best customer service organization, employee development, leadership development. So Dennis comes from Disney and is a national speaker and leader on those topics. And so when I saw Ben's name from the Disney perspective, yes, the media, but also Disney's approach to customer support, customer experience, customer success, customer engagement. They're the leaders by far, the global leaders. And so that's what I'm hoping Ben will touch on. And I expect him to, just because they're such leaders. And with the consumerism experience taking hold and really taking shape in healthcare, we've got to look to some of those best practices from Disney. So that's what I'm hoping will come out of Ben's keynote, and he'll touch on that like Dennis.
Yeah.
It does.
Do you get to many of the keynotes?
I will certainly make Ben's, but I think Ben's is actually Tuesday morning. I want to say it's first thing. I think 8:30. I do. I pick and choose. I probably will see Michael Phelps. I believe I love the space of behavioral and mental health. We need it more than ever in this country. And so the fact that we're continuing to focus on it, I like the fact that the government's continuing to focus on it. We need to focus on it more. And so, yeah, I mean, I will make some of these. I always pick and choose. So I try to make at least 2, if not 3.
Right. The feds are going to be there. They, of course, have not been to the last couple. HHS, Becerra is going to be there. CMS, Brooks LaSure is going to be there. She's the head of the CMS. And, of course, Mckay Tripathi, ONC. Those 3 are going to be there and speaking. That's an interesting. The other interesting set of people I thought in the featured speakers were pilots and astronauts.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I did.
So we have Jen and a woman. Jen Johnson she's apparently this executive consultant, and she's a former F-16 pilot.
Yep.
Joan Higginbotham, I think is how you say her name. She's retired NASA astronaut and a rocket scientist, a true rocket scientist.
Yes,
Love that.
Yes.
Third African-American woman in space. And so that was interesting. And Jen Johnson's actually going to be speaking with a guy named James Murphy.
Yep.
Do you know him?
I do. I just know him from my past. I mean, just from reading and just coming across some of his work. Yes.
Well, he's an Atlanta guy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't realize that.
Yes. And so, and actually he's an ex F-15 pilot. Yep. His company is called Afterburner. And of course, Afterburn is the exhaust coming out of these jet fighter pilots, right? Planes. And his entire team is ex high-level military SEAL special forces. His whole company.
Yep.
Very, very interesting. Had a lot.
He spoke to, yes, actually, now that I pull up his information, he did. He spoke to us when we actually had Greenway he spoke to us back in 2011, to be honest. So yeah, actually he did. Now I look up his background. He's awesome. Yeah. When I saw these names come across, when I dove into them, I didn't put 2 and 2 together on him. I actually looked up Jen Johnson, and what came to my mind is leadership and being a strong leader through difficult times. I think that's something that I'm hoping to hear when I go to HIMSS this year. And I think, and it's actually going to be some of my talks, public speaking engagements coming up in 2022 about how to be a discerning leader, how to be a strong leader in very turbulent and tough times. Yes, the money has been flowing, but running a company right now and leading a company today is more difficult than ever, in my opinion. I've led several now and been on several significant leadership teams. And there's a different strain out there, certainly with employees and also with customer engagement and with even decisions that are being made. It's not as, I don't want to use the word rational, but things are more reactive today. Employees are going through much more difficult times. Mental and behavioral health is significant. Doesn't matter where you are in the spectrum and in life, you're going to be affected in some capacity. I don't care if you have the most perfect mental health, you're going to have unique stresses and pressures around you that you've never had to deal with before. And understanding that, knowing how you're going to react, and this is exactly where the fighter pilot mentality comes in. And even I was in the military for 8 years in the infantry and the Army. And I tell the story all the time that we are shot at. You have to be shot at in basic training to know how your body and your mind will react to bullets whizzing and flying by your head. Obviously, difficult times, what's happening in Ukraine, but this is serious. And so about knowing how you're going to react. And so just being cognizant of the pressures around you, how you're going to lead in these difficult times, how you're going to be a collaborative employee, a supportive boss, have a supportive infrastructure, and make sure that's internal and also external to your customers. Respect and understand what your customers are going through. Very unique times, very strong, difficult, unique pressures on all the business models in healthcare. Obviously with COVID, with staff shortages, with financial challenges, with expansion, needed in a lot of areas, with some contraction needed in some areas. there's so many unique pressures that are, to this time. And so I think that's what I'm hoping to get out of when I saw Jen Johnson and James Murphy's, named.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they're going to relate to. So thoughts there.
Yeah, that's apparently what he does. He's a strategy guy and goes into these really big companies. Interesting. The other usual suspects that I found were Anish Chopra and Don Rucker. Those are, but not a lot of old time names from the last decade.
Well,
that's all I could find.
Yeah, and I've talked to a couple of them. Anish and I spoke actually last week. Love him. He's got a really cool venture right now. And I don't believe he's going to HIMSS. Oh, you said he is going to HIMSS. When I spoke to him, he wasn't quite sure. Oh, awesome. Okay, cool.
And Don Rucker is too, his new venture.
Yeah, and we're going to circle back with them. So some of the names previously, you and I are going to do a spring innovation series. I'm also going to do a spring investor series. So some cool radio show panels coming up probably in April and May. And we're going to have some of those quote unquote usual suspects. But yeah, I've spoken with a couple of them over the past 3 to 4 to 5 weeks. And sometimes it's a little bit about COVID. It's about personal pressures they're having in their own environment where they just can't leave the environment right now. Right. And it's just where the world has evolved to. So I'm excited to see. Hopefully, there'll be some new common names that we create this year.
Exactly. But here's the thing: out of all the speakers, and I went through it, and I tried to look for people I knew, or I looked up people like you did to see what they're all about. But I think there's 2 missing entities in our speaker situation here, and I want to hear your take on it.
Sure.
So missing number 1 is the political duo that they've been doing for over a dozen years now.
So true. Yeah, I did not put that together, but you're totally right. I mean, we've had, Paul Begala and James Carville, and then also on the and Karl Rove. That was the kind of the one.
Chris Christie was there.
That's right. So we've had phenomenal, engagements in the past to offer all perspectives, because it takes all the bills that I've worked on in Congress and we got passed and signed by the president were all bipartisan. You have to work, across the aisle. That's a good life lesson in general. So yeah, I completely agree with you. We need to have that. And actually, maybe we'll bring that up, or you know what, we'll just create our own. To be honest, we can create our own high profile bipartisan radio panel if we need to.
Well, I just thought it was interesting that it was missing. Yeah. It had, like I said, it's been over a dozen years that they've had high profile on the stage together for a dozen years now. So that was missing.
I'll bring it to Tom Leary. Actually, that's a great idea. I'm going to write it down. I'll mention this.
Yeah.
Let's get it back.
So the other thing that I think was really missing in all of the speakers is there's no prominent medical expert that's going to talk anything about the pandemic.
I understand that. I think we are so sick and tired of we get the pandemic. We've heard every expert in the world 5 times on the pandemic. I think the country is ready to move past it. We get it. And so that, what else can we learn from it? It's also morphing. So once we learn something, it seems to change, a month or 2 later, just because that's the way diseases and viruses evolve, So anyhow, I understand that actually this juncture. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I just think that health IT is really what is going to evolve better out of this whole 2 years of our life.
Totally
and
agree.
There's really nobody talking about that. And that's what HIMSS is. So I was surprised that there was going to be nothing on that.
Well, and I think we've experienced that. I mean, to be honest, a couple of my companies have grown exponentially over the past couple of years, and it's been a phenomenal ride and opportunity, and the way we can bring innovation to the market, and how it's being able to stand up these massive virtual care infrastructures for these organizations, in matters of minutes and days, is phenomenal. And so I think we've experienced that. And we need to continue this on. I mean, and we're going to see a lot of convergence and evolutions, and we need to continue to support them from an IT perspective, from a staffing perspective, from a leadership perspective, from an innovation perspective. So yeah, I agree with you.
And I know we're getting down to the wire, but I have to put one more plug in. One more shout out. On Tuesday, 1:30, ONC is going to have their town hall, and I can't go to HIMSS without seeing my guy, Stephen Posnack. You know that.
I know that. And we'll get Stephen back on air. We'll make sure he joins our show this spring. I love Steve. He's great. And I'll certainly join you for that as well. That'd be fun.
Tuesday, 1:30. We're
Yes.
going to be at the ONC Town Hall, which will be kind of interesting because they've got a lot going on.
I love
TEFCA, just dropping. So
Yep.
We're good. That's me. I'll see you in Orlando.
You will, Roberta. Thank you so much for joining the show today, and thank you for everyone for joining us. And if you enjoyed this, please listen to us weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific. As always, you can track me on Twitter at HIT Advisor and use the hashtag #ThisJustinRadio so we can respond to your comments from the show. If you miss any of this episode or want to hear more, all of my shows are posted on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Google Play, TuneIn, and Apple iTunes. You can also check out some of the new content we just posted on justinbarnes.com. Thanks, everyone, and stay safe. See you soon.